Hey guys, welcome to Anime Club, episode 8. Yay, anime.
Yay,
So yeah, Pikachus are falling. And this episode, we're going to talk about fanime, because if you guys didn't know, we had a fanime meetup this past weekend.
Mm-hmm. You did.
It was awesome. So as always, I'm Miranda Sanchez, your host, and joining me is Megan Sullivan.
Sup?
Alina Yee.
Hello.
And Kallie Plagge.
Hi.
Yay!
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 Oh,
me.
God. Sorry, guys. The yay thing. Oh, gosh.
It's awesome. What are you talking about?
Like, whenever we're at the meetup, people come up and be like, yay, anime? I'm like, yay, anime!
No, you got to do it with conviction.
Yeah. It's like a question is like, is this the right place? Because, yeah, it was a very unofficial, kind of casual, fun thing.
Thanks to everyone who came. It was really nice meeting everybody.
It was so fun to meet everybody and eat Pocky and snacks.
Yes.
And a lot of snacks.
Lots of delicious snacks.
Yeah, so before we jump into anime, let's just talk about what we're watching, as always. Kallie, since you're the guest.
Putting
You on the spot.
I'm watching Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-kun. I'm a little behind on that. And I started Gokincho Monogatari, which is, the American localization is Neighborhood Story, and it's like from 1995. But I wanted a 90s throwback anime, and it's about a fashion design student and her childhood friends. So it's super shoujo, and I'm excited.
That's fun.
Yeah.
How far are you in Nozaki-kun? Because that's like one of the best shows.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so fun.
I know. I love it so much. I'm on episode 8. I just finished it, episode 8. And it's just so cute. I love it so much.
So what is Nozaki-kun about? Even though I know.
Oh, what's it about? Oh, right. Skipped that part. It's about a mangaka, a manga artist, and he does shoujo manga. And the girl who has a crush on him, and they work together and she's like unpaid labor for him. I don't know. And
It's a labor of love.
Yeah. A labor of love because she's obsessed with him, and I relate to her so much.
I think the best thing about that is kind of the premise is that Nozaki-kun kind of thinks that she's just a fan.
Right.
Like, she comes up, she like goes to confess her love. It's the first episode. It's like, I've got to tell him I can do this. And
he gives her his autograph.
Yeah. And he's just like, oh, okay. And then he's just like, yeah, gives him an autograph. It's like, oh.
I like how the first episode is bookended by that too. Where like it starts that way and it kind of ends that way, and just like, oh, girl.
It's just.
I'm like, oh, I feel you so hard. I mean, no one has given me their autograph, but still.
Yeah, it's just super cute.
So cute. And Mikorin I relate to Mikorin a lot, because Mikorin will say something really cool, like, oh, like, oh, Hime-sama, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then he'll just like break down embarrassed.
Oh, yeah.
And that's me. So.
I think, the best thing about Nozaki-kun is definitely his characters. Yeah. They're just so fun and very well defined.
Yes.
And they're very set in their ways. Though you don't see too much change in them, but you will like little bits as they get new relationships and stuff. But that's fun.
Yes.
Yeah. So for me this week, I actually watched a lot since we had a long weekend, and that was fun. I finally started Love Live School Idol Project. I had
What's that one about?
It's very popular right now. I was like, why is this so popular? It's just some girls in an idol group. It's like there's been kind of a lot of that. But this one is about 3 girls who make an idol group at their school to save their school, because it's going to get closed down. There's not enough attendance. There's not enough people who are just like interested in enrolling.
Oh.
So to save their school, like it won't close until after the current years graduate. But they're like, oh, they won't have any new students to take care of and stuff, and all these experiences, and we love the school. So they make an idol group, because I guess I don't know if like school idol groups are even a thing. Like, I didn't do my research, but if they are, that's kind of cool. I kind of doubt it, but I mean, that would be a fun club to have. And so they keep getting shut down. Like, people are like, no, you can't do this. We only want clubs that are for enjoyment, not for saving the school. It's like, okay. It was like, what if they just want to do it anyway? Because they presented it as doing it to save the school and get more popularity. And then people are like, oh, no, I don't want to join. They're like, oh, no, I don't want to perform. I'm scared. And like all these little things. And it's kind of just like, I watched the first 2 episodes, and it was just like kind of typical, like getting on your feet, making a music group. But it's just a lot of fun, and the characters are cute. And I've played the Love Live mobile game already. It's like just like a fun rhythm kind of game, and it's just really cute. So I'm kind of happy I started watching it. And then Little Witch Academia, I watched on a friend's suggestion, which is done by, I think, my favorite studio. Like I say I think because it's hard to decide on one studio that you can love and commit yourself to saying this is my favorite because they do so many different things. But it's done by Studio Trigger. Yay, Trigger. It's people who made Kill la Kill, for those who don't know. Ingrid and Lagan and tons of other great stuff. And they made Little Witch Academia, which is like a 26-minute short. And it's about this girl who, it starts off when she's like super young and she goes to a performance by a witch. And she just does like a bunch of like cool tricks and stuff. And she like brings out like this big old weapon. She like slays like this weird dragon thing that's kind of cute and like explodes into fireworks, which is kind of fun. And she goes to school to go study to be a witch because she's like inspired by this witch that she saw. But at that school, that witch that she saw is like really looked down upon and frowned on. Like, no, her magic is just like a bunch of crap, just like tricks and like tomfoolery. It's not good. Like real magic is like witch's bad, look. So she's like really offended, like really defensive when that happens. And granted, this is like 26 minutes and tells like such a little great story. I heard from my friend that they kickstarted a second episode, which is kind of cool. Yeah, and so like it just kind of goes through her being at school. She's not very good. She didn't come up from a family of witches, so she's like the first one trying to learn. And then there's like a dragon breaks loose, and it kind of deals with how she helps contain this like catastrophe at their school. So it's just like a cute little one-off thing. So I just gave that a watch since we had some extra time. But yeah.
Cool.
What are you watching, Megan?
So between Fanime and a birthday party with lots of tiki drinks and The Witcher 3, I didn't have a ton of time this weekend, but I did manage to binge watch the second half of Michiko and Hachin. I love that show. It's by the makers of Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo, so if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's so good. And it's about this hardened female criminal who is trying to reunite with her boyfriend. And so she saves his long-lost daughter from this abusive foster home, and they go on this multi-month adventure through all these poor favelas in like this Brazilian-like town to try to find him. And it's crazy good. Like there's really good action, fantastic music, good comedy, and good drama. So love that show. Highly recommend it. I think it came out in like 2008, so it's a little bit older. But I'd never heard of it until my boss gave me a Blu-ray of the whole series. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna sit down and watch this, and it is so good. So highly recommend that. And I watched The Tale of the Princess Kaguya, which is I think the first post-Miyazaki film. Studio.
I don't remember which director did.
I don't remember either.
I'm not off the top of my head. I just looked it up too. But
Google.
That's yay Google. Yay anime, yay Google. I loved it. I thought the art direction and the art style was really good. And I love that story. Like it's one of the oldest fairy tales in Japan. So I think the only issue I had was the pacing, and some of the English voice cast was a little hit or miss. So those are my only two issues with it. But I love that story so much, where it's about this girl who comes down from the moon and lives among humans for a short time and all of her adventures. And I like the spin on it too, which is a little more, rather than her being sort of sad and resigned that eventually she'll have to go back to the moon. It's, sorry, I don't think these are spoilers. This is a very old fairy tale. It's 1,000 years old, so I don't think it's that. I'm not going to say like what happens or how it plays out, because that would be spoilery, but it's just really well done, and it sort of presents it from the point of view of this girl is very independent and wild and free and just wants to continue to enjoy the beauty and nature of Earth and all of her earthly friends. And they take her from the countryside to live in the imperial capital during the Heian period, which was very beautiful but very ritualized. Everything you did was ritualized. The way you ate, the way you stood, the way you walked, the way you sat, the way you wore your hair, the fact that you had to blacken your teeth, because that was the imperial style at the time. Like you plucked and then painted your eyebrows like a little higher and these little dots. It's really, really ritualized. And for somebody who grew up in the countryside, that's too constricting and too formal. So it's all about how this girl is just confined, just wants to be free. And that's sort of the theme, and it's so good.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't mean to watch that. That was not a Miyazaki film.
No, that was
yeah, Isao Takahata.
Yeah.
So
that was after Miyazaki left, I guess, or retired.
I think they trade off.
Oh, they trade off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like there's different directors, all under the Studio Ghibli banner.
Okay.
But the most famous, obviously, is Miyazaki.
Right. Okay. Now I get it.
yeah.
Yep. Very good.
Elena.
Oh, that's the voice that
No,
I deserve because I was a bit of a remedial student this week. But, so it's funny because the long weekend you would think that you would get to binge everything, right? But I was actually at Fanime all weekend. So
Yeah, jealous. That's a good excuse.
So between the working in the different shifts that I was working and then, trying to scope out some of the con, I didn't really have that much time to actually watch anime, which is kind of weird to say, even though I was at an anime convention. But I managed to get in, managed to start Gurren Lagann finally.
Yay!
And I don't know how I feel about it yet. I don't. Like so I don't even know what the basic premise is really, because like that first episode kind of introduces you to the world. And so without reading, oh my gosh, Pikachu, I'm sorry. I'm just destroying everything today.
No.
Anyway.
Oh no, Derek. On the table.
So from the first episode alone, if like you don't read a series synopsis, it's really hard to figure out what it's going to be about. Mm-hmm. I mean, basically the first episode is, how do I describe this without spoiling
It's hard
anything?
to describe, right?
Well, it's hard to describe without spoiling it, right? Because the first episode so much sets up this world. But I guess I can go generally speaking, where it opens in
I think if you kind of spoil the first episode, it's not that big of a deal.
I know.
It's like the opener.
That's the exposition.
I know. I just hate spoilers.
Unless there are like certain like very
all right
big points to it that do reveal things.
Basic premise is that there's not a lot about the general world, but it opens with some kind of conflict that is on a space level, right? There's a reference to the cosmos, like the universe. And then it cuts to some planet, doesn't say what, where people are living underground. Mm-hmm. And then in this particular village, they're forbidden to even really think about ever wanting to go to the surface. And so that's basically the general conflict for this episode. But it's to me, it's really interesting. Aside from the fan service, which is gratuitous, blatant, and in some ways kind of really easily ignored because of that, because it's just so obvious where it's just like, okay, that's what they're doing. I can kind of tune that out now. It's this weird mix of comedy and then drips of exposition. Like it doesn't tell you the story, it kind of shows you the story, which I like. Mm-hmm. I don't know, it's hard to summarize how I feel about it, just because I feel like this show has a lot of heart, but not a lot of clarity.
How much did you get to watch?
Only just the first episode. Like
Okay.
I said, I was a bad anime fan again.
Then you got some time.
I know.
Just let it soak in. Just don't.
But for me, I think the reason I say that is because my personality is that I usually get a really quick sense of how I feel about a series, like from the first episode. Because to me, that's kind of no different than a first impression. No different than like the first handshake with somebody, right?
Right.
So if they're in a bad mood or, they're really warm and friendly, that kind of sets the tone for me. So when I start with a series where it's a little confusing for me, where I don't know how to really process it, it's kind of hard for me. So
Interesting. I think I'll like it.
I think I will too. I gotta give it a few more episodes, I think.
I haven't gotten to finish it yet. I was watching it during college, and then I had to drop it for projects and dumb stuff that didn't matter. Yeah, so I'm excited to see what you think, and I'll probably also pick it back up so we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Since that's always fun to talk about.
Yeah, this one will be easy to binge because it's, pretty much all online already.
Yeah,
So.
it's done. So, yay. So let's talk about the reason you couldn't watch anime. So, Elena, tell us about Fanime. So, a lot of us have been to cons. Again, if you haven't been to an anime convention, then by all means try to go when you can. They are so much fun. I've been to a few. We've all been to a few here. Mm-hmm. But something I've never done is volunteer. And Elena, you volunteered quite a few times, right?
So I should preface this because, so just for people who have never really been to an anime con and maybe haven't researched at all, there's different components that you'll see repeated as general themes that you'll see, right? So you'll have panels that you can go to, and those are with people from the industry or even sometimes fan-hosted ones, depends on the convention. Then there's screening rooms where they show new shows or they just show like popular shows. Those are really good especially back in the day, those were sometimes the only way you could see series because you just couldn't get them in the States. Megan and I have talked about this, right? The darker, earlier days where you would just, go through Alta Vista searches.
Oh my God,
yeah,
Alta Vista.
I know. And just try to find something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, us more seasoned people on this side of the table can talk about those days.
Back in my day.
Yeah. Stuff that was hard to get by fan subs. So, like, sometimes anime conventions are the only way to, like, see some of these shows, right? So there's screening rooms. And then, you have a lot of places will have cosplay contests, and then they'll have a music show if they're a big enough convention where they get someone from Japan a lot of times to come out, which is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And then, so the department I work for is that sometimes the bigger conventions will have a formal dance. And so I volunteer for FanimeCon's Black and White Ball. And so my role is to teach different dances, so ballroom dances, like swing dances. There's a big variety that we do in particular because we're all kind of insane about it. So it's more than just your standard, like, here's a swing lesson, here's a waltz lesson. And we're like, nope, we got 15 different dances for you guys to choose from. So because of that, I actually don't get to see a lot of the con. So this year was interesting because I actually took some time out to go through the artist alley, go through the dealer's hall. Oh, those other things too. That you can go buy stuff. Like merch is a huge. Yes. Right? Really cute. You guys have to understand how much discipline I had to invoke to not buy all the plushies.
Oh,
all the plushies.
So happy.
They're so cute.
I spent
so many.
much money. It's so hard.
So long story short, volunteering is really, I think, dependent on what group you're volunteering for, because there's just so much that goes on with the convention. So there are even departments that are not even tied to a specific thing that's happening, right? You have logistics, and then you have a group that, at FanimeCon they call them the rovers, which are basically the enforcers. They make sure things run smoothly. If like someone's being, a little too boisterous or doing something that's kind of illegal, like they like help find the police and like kind of take care of things.
They could also be the people, like the line attendants. So when we were going to registration, it was just like this long curving, line made of like tape and stuff. And it was like kind of empty, so you could like cut through, and I just walked through it because you're usually supposed to, and some other younger girls were just like cutting under it, and then this one person spotted them, I guess, who was volunteering for Fanime, and she's like, no, you guys go all the way back, get to the end of the line. It's just like very intense. I was like, whoa.
The rovers kind of have
though.
to be, because they have to be authoritative, essentially,
right.
So that people respect the fact that they say, like, no, we have rules and we have a code of conduct in place, and we need you to follow that, because if everyone starts breaking that, then everything just kind of descends into chaos. Mm-hmm. So there's registration that you can volunteer for. So every department's different, so the needs are different, like the amount of work that goes into it beforehand is different, how much, stress and like concentrated, like go, like really just depends on the department. So I think that's a really general answer.
So what did you do specifically? Like, what was your experience like? I mean, obviously you get to see like the behind the scenes of a con, which is really cool. I mean, not something we get to see every day.
Well, I mean, this is not the only convention I've volunteered for. I also volunteered for one where I was more in operations. Mm-hmm. And so it's very different. So, like, behind the scenes of, say, the Black and White Ball, there's just, like, a lot of planning that goes into it. You really think about the lesson plans. You want to try to break things down so that people can just enjoy themselves for the night. Mm-hmm. So, like, for example, we don't go too hard on, you have to do it this proper way. Otherwise, it's not, everything's terrible now, because people are there just to listen to music, dance to it, and have fun, right? Mm-hmm. If you're working in something more like logistics based or like operations, then you hear and see everything that like blows up, right? It's like that kind of behind the scenes where, wow, somebody did that. Like, I would never dream of doing that. Okay, I guess we gotta take care of that now. And then your standard, sometimes people have medical emergencies, unfortunately, and like just taking care of people and stuff like that.
So how long did you have to work on planning Black and White Ball? Or like, what did you guys do? Like, how far in advance do you guys have to meet to start planning? Even that small segment. I mean, it's not small, but I mean.
Our group is one of the biggest now.
Right.
So thank you to everyone at Fanime who comes to Black and White Ball, because it's bigger every year and it's amazing. So we start pretty early. So FanimeCon is ended, so we'll probably start talking about planning in a few months.
Man.
Yeah.
So what's like the most difficult thing to plan for, you think? I mean, at least for Black and White Ball. Like, what's the hardest thing for you guys?
Ball. We have a system down now. Like, it's kind of cool. Like, we have really good people in place just in general. I think in general with anything, once you have a formula, like it's pretty set at that point. I would say just kind of the dress code is kind of our biggest issue. Because I think in general, when you tell people, I mean, I've seen this at other conventions where if you tell people you have a dress code and then people start breaking it, it really upsets the people who were really working hard to adhere to that dress code, because they thought that, you know, if you tell me that I can't get in if my skirt is too short or if, you know, I'm showing, you know, the entirety of my chest, that if I make the effort to lengthen my skirt on my cosplay so that I can attend and somebody else walks in with, you know, a slit down to some place that's not appropriate for this dress code, then that upsets me. And that's totally understandable. So it's like balancing that, right? And then you have the people who say, well, we just want to have a good time. Why does it have to be so regulated? So,
because it's cooler that way. I mean, it's pretty cool because you don't see, once you get out of high school and college, you, to an extent, you don't see like dances and stuff, like formal events. Like those are really hard to come by unless you like work in a certain industry where you get formal events, which I don't even know what that is. So, definitely not ours.
Nope. T-shirts and flannel.
Kitty T-shirts.
Yeah.
It's amazing that you were so disciplined not get. There's so many things at Fanime that I wanted to buy, so I applaud the fact that you were like, nope, I'm gonna be good. I'm gonna be good. Like I'm eyeing Miranda's T-shirt right now, which is super cute.
I have it back. Yeah, like my new Omoka.
Yes, it's so cute.
It's like so cute.
Moon Girl T-shirt. Yeah, so I was super excited. I couldn't find this one at Mario Q in Japantown, so I was happy to see it at the convention. But man, there's so much you can buy at conventions.
Did you get this too?
Yeah,
so cute.
A little Amuse woolly plush. So if you don't know about Muse plushes, a really popular plush designer toy thing in Japan, and they also make alpacas, and it's really easy to find knockoffs. And they get really expensive because there are so many knockoffs and stuff, and like to find like genuine ones, it's kind of hard. But the cool thing was at Fanime, there were like so many vendors, and like there were some with knockoffs, but most of them were like real.
How do you tell the difference?
So
quality research.
Yes, actually a lot of research, because the alpaca I bought from Japantown, like I thought it was like real. It looked real, like this, like the tag looked real, but it was still fake. I was really mad. The reason I was mad is because you're paying like higher prices to have a real one, and if it's not, then you know it's like, oh, well, I got ripped off. But the one like way you can tell is by looking at the tag and making sure it's like a decent print and a good color. And now Amuse has also started putting on like these shiny little stickers that say Muse, and they also have QR codes. It's like official toys will have the QR codes, and then of course the Muse little tag on the butt. So
there was a bunch of awesome stuff at like just both Artist Alley and like
Artist Alley took so long for me to get through. I actually took a full hour just trying to look at everything.
Yeah, I think we were there for at least 40 minutes.
We got split up.
Yeah, we got split up at one point because I was like, I ran ahead because I saw a couple of things. Like, if you look at my Twitter page, like you'll see that I got these amazing posters that were like the Final Fantasy logos, like the ones by Amano, but they're for Legend of Zelda. And so this artist whose company is Shattered Earth did them, and I was like, oh, Final Fantasy and Legend of Zelda? Yes, please. So I like grabbed 3 of those. But I have no idea what I'm going to do with them. They're so awkwardly sized. Like I don't know how I'm going to get them in a frame, but they're so gorgeous. And I'm like, I want to hang these on my wall. They're so good. Yeah, I'm going to have to do custom frames.
Frames are really expensive. So one trick you can do sometimes is to get a custom mat that fits a standard frame size.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
A little cheaper to go that way.
Yeah. But that was really cool. Like, I expected some of the Artist Alley stuff to be kind of meh, but almost everything was like really good.
Amazing.
So gorgeous.
And some of the prices are astounding. So, I mean, if you don't know what Artist Alley is, it's basically just it's unlicensed art. So it's like fan takes on like different series, and sometimes they do mashups, and sometimes they just kind of riff on things, kind of like, you know, what you were talking about with your art that you bought. But I was at one station and they had this beautiful like print. I think it was Sailor Moon, and it's just really soft, really different art style than the original. And there was another booth that had something similar, and they wanted 30, I think, like 25 or 30. And this booth, I asked her, and she's like 15, and it was a bigger size print too. And I was like, wow, you really do have to walk the entire thing
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
see like what's the
Mhm.
best art and what's the best deal, really.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. It's kind of hard just because you have to like appreciate every style. It's like someone made this. That's so cool. It's just like that person probably sitting at the desk is just like, oh yeah, I drew these. Like a lot of people like will take commissions at their stations
Yeah.
too, which is amazing. So like, yeah, I did a full walk. I was like, all right, I'm looking for a Kill la Kill print. Got to get Satsuki on my wall, and I found a really good one. Yeah, I also tweeted out.
I took a picture of an amazing Cowboy Bebop one too. It was really, really gorgeous. I was like, oh my god, this
Did you
is
see the
amazing.
one of Faye and the Pulp Fiction?
Yes, I did. That one was so
that
good.
was so good.
I couldn't justify getting anything more. I'd already spent a lot of money, and I was like, oh, but it's so good. It's such a good idea.
I'm trying to see if you can just like look it up. Yeah, you can just look up that kind of print too.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool because like there's just so many different types of artists, and you get so many styles.
Yeah. Like I went to Fanime last year, and I walked through Artist Alley, and I put all the prints I got on my wall. I got so many prints, and I got like a cool Pokemon like watercolor one, and then I got the Kill la Kill one that I showed you, Miranda, and then like a Madoka one. They're all different styles, and it's amazing the variety you can find. And I just love fans that do stuff like that. I really appreciate stuff like that.
I don't know how to even think of some of these things. It's so creative. Like
Yeah,
the mashups that I come across, like Zelda, Mario, and Sailor Moon were like the most popular. And
Sailor Moon for sure.
Sailor Moon was everywhere, and I have no problems with that. But it was just really unique. Like Pokemon was there was a lot of Kill la
Sword
Kill.
Art too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was really super. Like there was definitely a theme at one point where I started noticing like every artist had at least one of those anime or one of those games present, and it was so like the variety was so amazing. Like totally different art styles.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say the other thing that I thought was kind of cool is that sometimes you actually see other properties in there that aren't anime. So like I saw this really cool like set of X-Men style posters.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think I saw that one. Where there's this amazing one of I think Jean Grey as like the Phoenix.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was just like it was just a really neat art style.
Yeah, I saw in the dealer's room Game of Thrones banners. So for like House Greyjoy, House Stark, and there was even one for Bolton. I was like, who is going to get a House Bolton flayed man banner? And it was kind of like, just because I think the guy who plays Roose Bolton is hot, I'm not going to get that awful, awful banner. I like older men, what can I say? But I actually saw somebody dressed as Prince Joffrey and another as Queen Cersei, and their cosplay was so good. And I was like, I took a picture of Prince Joffrey, or King Joffrey, I keep saying Prince, King Joffrey, because he was so amazing. That was the other thing too, like cosplay was
Cosplay.
excellent. Like I was like, I feel sheepish. I was like, I don't think I could ever do anything that good.
Yeah, I got to take a picture with like a really awesome Ryuko and Satsuki in like their final form kind of in their uniforms. So
Oh my gosh, that
their
is so
Kamui was,
amazing.
like that ultimate form is so good.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, Brian and I took. Miranda knows this. Brian and I took pictures with these Ganondorfs who were really, really good. Like they went literally head to toe. They were completely committed to this, and I was like, oh my god, how do you find the time and talent and money to do that?
I'm always super impressed by, I mean, there is amazing cosplay no matter what form, right? So it doesn't have to be this elaborate, but I'm always super especially impressed by the people who go all out and do like full body paint. In addition,
Oh, yeah.
in addition to like incredibly detailed costumes. And you wander around that all day. And San Jose, unlike San Francisco, tends to be much more reliably warm in the spring. So like maybe 70 to 75 degrees, sometimes even warmer depending on the year. So
Yeah.
you're walking around in full body paint, sometimes with these really warm costumes, and they're just around all day taking photos, and I'm just always so impressed by it.
Yeah, and everyone had their styles. Like one Black Widow did like her pose, and then like Sailor Venus did her pose, and it was just like these guys are so wonderfully committed. Like I don't see them out of character,
Right.
which is
And
awesome.
I don't know if they had this year, but last year they had like cosplay meetups for different.
They do.
Yeah.
They always do.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So like I went to the Danganronpa one, and like the people like crazy wigs. Like I don't know if you're familiar with Danganronpa,
Yeah.
but like Celeste Ludenberg has like the spiral pigtails.
Yeah.
and people like gelled their wigs and made it. It was amazing. Like I can't believe it. It's so much effort, and it's really, really cool to see.
I think wigs are scary. Like not because they're like frightening in themselves. It's just like how to style them and probably take care of them.
And like not
It's
get the
just
hair
so
bump in the
intimidating.
back. Like-
Right. Yeah. I cosplayed once as Yuki Nagato from the Makai of Haruhi Suzumiya. And I got a wig online, but it was too long, so I had to cut it.
Oh.
Granted, I was like 14 or 15, so I was just like, so I just cut it on my head. Like, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to, like, obviously take it off to see it so you can get it, like, exact. But yeah, it was bad. But it was fine. But I mean, like, then you see, now back at conventions and stuff, you see people who have like crazy wigs. Like, you were talking about the curls. Like, I saw someone, like, their curls, like, went out, like, at least, like, 6 inches away from, like, their head. And it was, like, amazing. Like, these spirals. It's like, how do you get that to stay?
Yeah.
It's magic.
It is. It's witchcraft.
Some of my friends are cosplayers, and the things they do to recreate these looks that, for sometimes literally defy gravity. Like, it's just so creative. Like, I would never think to use this material that does this property and then combine it with this other material to give it the shape they're looking for, but without disturbing, like, the smoothness. And, like, my brain just kind of goes, oh, I'm just going to stand here and admire. Yeah.
Like battle armor versions of cosplay. That's a thing. Like, people do, like, battle armor Sailor Senshi or something, and they do, like, this, like, weird, like, molded materials and, like, special paint to give it, like, a metallic finish. And I just am not that good at life. Like, I just can't. I did a cosplay last year, and, like, it was kind of a disaster. Like, I made the entire dress in a day, and I bought the wig online, and I was Monokuma from Danganronpa, and so I was like, I made a half black, half white dress, but then the wig I ordered, it was swapped, so the black and the white was on the wrong side. And I was like, oh my god.
You couldn't turn the wig around and just be like, all right, we're gonna make this work.
I just made it work. It was a whole thing, but yeah.
But you tried.
I have a lot of respect for cosplayers because it takes a lot of courage, I think, because you often have to, I mean, the kinds of costumes that people often do are sometimes can be kind of revealing, and that takes a lot of, like, confidence, I think, and then also just the talent and putting so much effort into a character you love. I have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah. And you said some are sponsored, right?
Some get, like, I have a friend who goes to conventions, and she'll come with, like, a group, and they, pay her way or whatever. And so she did, like, the Sailor Scouts, and she did Junko from Danganronpa, and she made, like, a bell dress from Beauty
Can I
and the
ask
Beast.
what her cosplay name is? Putting you on the spot.
Question.
Because I know that some cosplayers just they go by their cosplay name.
Yeah, some have
and
a
I want to
name.
respect that. So.
I just call her by her normal name, so. But I actually don't know. That's not good. That's bad. Sorry, Jackie.
That's okay. We can always, like, add it to our article portion of it, and you just watch it, whatever. But I just have so much respect for cosplay, and we had a few cosplayers show up for our meetup, which was so awesome. That was great. Thank you for everyone who came out to that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a ton of fun. Had about 10, 12 people show up kind of intermittently. I'm sorry for those few of you that we missed. I think some people came after we left to go watch Elena perform.
Oh.
Yes. This girl can dance, by the way. I took pictures. Oh my gosh, she's so modest. She can move. That was impressive.
I saw the videos. Yep.
Yeah, so if you check out the Anime Club Facebook group, which is facebook.com/group/IGN Anime Club, you can see a video of Elena dancing.
Embarrassing herself, yes.
Oh my god, this is ridiculous. You are so good.
No, you're great. So, wrapping this up, what was your guys' favorite things about fanime? Or what was your favorite thing about conventions in general? I mean, there's tons. And, I mean, like, I got to go to, like, this cool, like, Dark Horse manga panel, which was, like, fun. Kind of just, like, looking at the history of Dark Horse manga. Like, if you didn't know, awesome. Dark Horse puts out manga. They have been for a long time, so that's pretty cool. And one that I actually missed was Magikarp: A History. So I was sad we had to leave.
I didn't even know there was a panel for that.
Yeah, there's so many cool panels, so I think even though I love panels and, like, all the work that goes into them, I think my favorite thing is probably Artist Alley.
Yeah.
Just because you get to see a lot of appreciation for people, caring for shows and games and all sorts of media in, like, a different personal way, and then you can kind of take a little bit of it home with you. There's also some, like, original works too, so yeah.
Right.
I would say Artist Alley and the Dealer's Room were the favorites just because I was like, I get stuff to buy and it's awesome stuff. But also just the general camaraderie, like, people were so happy when you wanted to stop and take pictures with them, because they were so excited. They went through all this trouble to get all dressed up, and so when people were like, can I take a picture, like, they would light up, and there was this friendly, like, people would shout at each other, oh, I know who that is, that's a character from, like, Bloodborne, that's a character from Sailor Moon, that's a character from Kill la Kill. And there was just this general happiness and camaraderie.
Yeah.
I just love that.
I think one of my favorite interactions would be between two Doctor Who doctors. It was like 9 and 10. And they're just like, oh, doctor, I like what you've done with your hair. Oh, thank you, doctor. You know, just like very silly. It's just like these guys probably didn't even know each other. Just like walked up to each other and like just started talking and then just went along their way. And I was just like, this is the best.
That's adorable. They've made Insta friends. That's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, it's my turn. Okay. I was gonna say when you, because I know you're gonna be going to Anime Expo this year, right?
We're working on it.
Prepare yourself for the dealer's hall there.
Oh, is that going to be good stuff?
You may actually want to take that in a couple sessions. If I remember right, it's. I mean, that's a bigger convention, so
yeah. Anime Expo is like the biggest in the U.S., right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah, it's one of, if not the. So it'll be my first time actually going, because it was in Anaheim for years, and I could never get down there. Like I never had an excuse to get down there, and now I'm like, I have an excuse to go. So
See, I grew up there and I never went because
it was right there. Oh, I'll go next year.
I didn't have anyone to go with.
you don't need to. I mean,
Right.
they have just so many panels, and like I said, the artist alley there and dealer hall. Like, you know, actually, sometimes it's actually nicer to go by yourself, because then you can just kind of like zoom through like
your
the way
thing,
you want
Make
to.
your own way.
Yeah.
But I mean, kind of on that note, I agree with Megan. Like, I think my favorite part, besides I really love Artist Alley, because that's just, I lost all my money at Artist
It's
Alley.
so good.
My favorite part is definitely being around other people who love the same things you do and having it be like a joyful experience. Like, my favorite memory from last year's Fanime was we all walked into like the game room kind of after panels had shut down for the day, and the cha-cha slide was playing. And we walked in, and everybody who walked in stopped at the same time and started dancing to the cha-cha
Flash
slide.
dance.
And it was amazing. And we were like, this is the nerdiest, dorkiest thing that's ever happened, and it's great. And I love that. And like, I could sit in one place. Like, I was waiting for my friend who was in Artist Alley, and I had my 3DS out, and I would clear my street passes and immediately get 10 more. And
Oh yeah, I forgot about that part.
yeah, street passes for days. And that's the kind of thing where I'm like, yeah, I'm around the kind of people who make me happy, and the kind of people I can talk to, and the kind of people you can make instant friends with. And that's my favorite thing about cons, I think.
Yay.
Yay, anime!
Yay, friends!
I know, I didn't actually answer the question yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm jumping on the same bandwagon, I think. I have always really loved just how much energy there is at anime conventions in general. Like, like seeing people like scream at each other from across the hall because they see a costume that they recognize and they're super excited.
I was just like,
Yeah.
Satsuki.
Kiryu-ins, that's
Like pushing people out of the way so you can get a picture.
Matoi Ryuko.
I feel like when you're at an anime convention, for the most part, you see the best of the community of like just, not even just of anime, but anything where it's like a little bit more niche, right? Like, it's more mainstream now, but like video games, right? Like same thing with that, where it's like the best of the community, where everyone's just very open and welcoming and just happy to be there celebrating what you all love the most. I was at the ball this year, and it was just so nice because I was there with people who like anime, who like video games, who like dancing because they were there. And then we had a moment where there was all those three things combined, and then we had someone announce that they had just gotten engaged that day. Right? Yeah. Right? So like we did like a little dance for them, and it was just so nice. Like it's like that, like it's like the ultra concentration of love, right? It was just everything right there in that moment. So it's fun.
That's pretty hard to top.
Yeah, it makes me so happy.
That was the first for us.
I'm like, love.
So, if you guys have been to a lot of cons, let us know what your favorite thing is. Want to know? I mean, obviously, we've kind of poured our hearts out almost literally. But yeah, so with that done, yay anime.
Yay anime.
We want to get onto some reader questions. Like we've had a lot. We've been keeping track of them. Please keep sending them. We will answer them sometime. Like they are on a doc, and I have like yes or no when they were asked your names. So keep track of you people.
It sounds a little sinister. I'm like, I'm keeping track of you people.
Yeah.
Remember, we know where you live.
No, we don't know where you live.
That was an inside joke for last year,
Yeah,
for last year's, last week's episode.
Yeah.
No, I saw that, but yeah.
So Danny Boy asks at DBoyPR84, would you guys rather have filler episodes or various seasons that air only when there's enough manga chapters? I'd take quality over quantity, which I totally agree with. Last episode we kind of talked a lot about filler. and how sometimes obviously you just got to buff out space whenever you're trying to keep up with a manga. And yeah, absolutely. I think it would make more sense to take a little bit more space. Sometimes, like, even if it's just like you have a season, then skip a season, then have a season again, then skip a season. But I understand like why you kind of have to keep up with the pressure of always keeping new shows like every week, and like maybe only skipping a week every now and then. But yeah, always quality over quantity. Like, some shows you don't need to be hundreds and hundreds of episodes long.
Cough, One Piece cough.
I agree with that. I think for me, the only fear is like the opposite extreme that a lot of American series do now, where they'll say, this is the final season, we're gonna split it across like 2 years. It's just like, no, just do it all at once.
I think that is something nice about anime, that you usually do get it really close together. Like, if it's not this season, it's gonna be the next season. Like, if it skips like one, then comes back. And, whereas like with most American television, it takes forever. It's like, okay, well, it's in 5 months. I guess I'll forget what this is now.
Right. Unless it's like a Netflix series that you just watch in one weekend. But yeah.
Daredevil.
Yeah. But just, I guess for filler episodes, there is a guide online for One Piece. And you can just like, there's like 80 episodes you can skip at once. And so if you want to watch One Piece without filler, there's a way to do that.
Yeah, all shows. Like, I mean, we saw that for Bleach too. Like, we mentioned that last time. Like, there's just a lot of ways to avoid the filler if you want. But sometimes filler's fun. Yeah, as we said last episode as well. But yeah, so Danny Boy, that is our thoughts. Yes. We agree. But like Elena said, it is nice to have that show you love. Like, is always there. Just like, thank you. But you don't have to question. It's like, or for most shows, you don't have to question when it's coming back.
Right. Or forget what happened.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't know if I said anything. I can't remember. I was like busy listening, so I was like, did I say anything? But just in case, I totally agree. Quality over quantity every time. The end.
Yeah. Okay. So for next question, at Game Session X asks, what's your favorite anime from childhood, and what's your favorite anime now, and how has it changed since you've gotten older? Well, my favorite anime was Sailor Moon. It's not Sailor Moon anymore, but I think it kind of keeps it within the same vein. Like, even though Kill la Kill isn't like a magical girl, like, there is still bits of transformation scenes in it, like, to an extent. And there's like a lot of themes like of friendship and like trusting yourself and those common tropes. At least that's what's carried with me. Is I think it's really important to have those very strong like underlying beliefs of a show. Like, I always like it whenever there's like, always believe in love. Like, Sailor Moon is just like, don't always believe in love and friendship. It's fine. Like, it's just like a very like stereotypical like girly whatever. But it like did it so well. Like, especially for me as a kid. And then just more of those like, believe in yourself, believe it, Naruto, whatever. Yeah, I was gonna say But yeah, I think it's kind of just like one of those things. It's like, it's not the same anymore. But I mean, obviously your tastes change. But that's how it is for me, at least. But you guys.
So Sailor Moon Slayers was always tied, which I mentioned like every single week. Sorry about that. But I think Michiko and Hachin is making its way up to my top 3 anime. It was just really refreshing and totally different from any other anime. And it's very empowering to women. It's about different women and their different strengths. So you've got this, hardened criminal who's trying to sort of redeem herself, and you got this little kid who's learning to be more strong and independent, and then you've got all these women in favelas who are doing everything they can to survive. They're not necessarily bad, but they've been put in bad situations. So seeing them all interact together and all try to survive in these hard knock, kind of favelas is really interesting and really awesome. So, yep, I think
Would
that's
you say that show is like just like starkly different from like what you watched kind of growing up? Like,
yeah, totally different. It's more grounded in reality. Even the ending, which is happy, but it's still grounded in reality. It's something that you can relate to. And also, like, things are happy, but not everything turns out the way you think it's going to. And that's just how life is. And I found that completely refreshing. And just the overall themes of the show and the world setting is, it's this fictional Brazilian type country, but you can relate to it. It's all about these criminal elements butting heads and all the people who are caught up in it. And I was like, that's really different than anything else. And it's more adult. And I think that's what I'm looking for. So yeah, I would definitely say so.
You know, the funny thing is, when I think about this, I don't know if what I watched, like, so the very first thing I ever watched, and I've mentioned this before in the podcast, was the first American dub of Nausicaa. Mm-hmm. So that was before I even knew anime was anime, right? Mm-hmm. I just thought it was cartoons. And I would still say that it's like in my top favorite things that I've watched. So I don't know if that means that my taste hasn't changed or I just have no taste in terms of, I mean, I think it's an excellent movie, don't get me wrong, but in terms of I don't have any taste beyond that, maybe is what I should be saying.
Well, maybe just the bar is super high.
Yeah.
Could be.
It's so excellent.
Yeah. I mean, because for me, I think I tend to gravitate more towards something that's a little more subtle in that regard. So there's a lot of shows that I really enjoy, but it doesn't have like that lasting, I want to go see that again. Or it like sticks with me, and I talk about it constantly to people who ask me what I like. I don't know, just something about her character, about the world, about how, I guess I wouldn't say intellectual, but it's not like your typical, I'm going to kill a monster of the week, right? It's post-apocalyptic. This is like what happened to humanity after this like horrible event that occurred. So, I don't know, maybe I'm just looking for something more in that vein. I haven't found it yet. I don't know. I keep saying I don't know, so that's not a good sign.
We could do a call to action if anyone has any suggestions. That would be good.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
It's Nausicaa. Yeah.
Yeah, but don't say Mononoke because I actually don't like that, and I'm sure that's going to get a lot of comments.
Why not?
I felt like Miyazaki just recycled the same themes from Nausicaa. Like I can see why people really like Mononoke no Hime, but for me, I think I had given my heart to Nausicaa, and I was like, that's it, I'm done. I can't move on.
No, I respect that. I respect that opinion.
Yeah, totally.
So.
Oh, me.
Kallie.
Oh, gosh. Okay. I also watched a lot of Sailor Moon as a child, and also the Pokemon anime is probably my favorite when I was a kid. I watched that like every day.
Well represented here today.
Well represented. I watched it every day. My mom would watch it when I wasn't around. Like it was just like Pokemon anime was all over my house. Bye Bye Butterfree still makes me cry.
Aww.
Oh,
It is sad though.
Yeah, it's really sad. And so, oh God, I love Pokemon so much. I wouldn't say it's my favorite anymore because I don't watch it anymore. Because I'm like, I don't. Misty left, and I was like, whatever. But
true.
yeah, I also really like Kill la Kill a lot, and I really liked Madoka. It's kind of short and sweet, and no spoilers, but it was super emotional, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I guess my tastes have grown into I like. Well, I guess Pokemon had like feelsy stuff, but it was more like yay friendship, like which I like.
Right,
I like friendship and love and teamwork, but moving on to like and I really like Danganronpa. I played the game, but there's an anime adaptation. But like more like hope versus despair. Like I just like I was like, oh, I love this. So yeah, I definitely kind of went in a different direction, but my tastes are kind of all over the map. So it really depends on like the quality of the anime. I like Ouran High School Host Club a lot, which is just so cute. I like shoujo a lot. I grew into such a shoujo fan because I don't know, I like it a lot.
It's a little fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
So all in all, I guess you can say that our taste did change, except for Elena's.
I'm just weird.
No, you just have very refined taste.
Yeah, it's not weird.
It's not weird.
So, listeners, friends, countrymen, let us know.
People of Earth.
the world.
People of the world.
Let us know how your tastes changed, if they didn't, or if obviously, like I know a lot of people grew up with like Dragon Ball Z. I have a lot of friends who did,
Right.
and just like it's still,
They must be
there.
thrilled with the new season coming up.
Yeah, there's some people in the office that are super thrilled.
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah. Good video of Max Scoville freaking out about it. So.
Yeah.
Okay. On to the next question. We only have a few more left. Tyler JJ on IGN on our podcast article asked, "Do any of you guys, Miranda and company, read any horror manga?" Nope.
I don't like the horror genre. I'm a big scaredy cat, so no.
Do you?
I also have to confess that I'm the biggest wussy on this planet. I mean, it's like in general, it's like Megan. Like I can't do any horror.
Same.
Even suspense is really difficult for me. So that'll be interesting to tell you guys about how I reacted to on the Cowboy Bebop episode.
I had a hard
wussy.
time like playing through Last of Us because it had like such great tension. Like whenever you're on
I
cliffs and stuff.
love that.
I was
That's
just
a
like, nope,
great
I'm
game.
out. Like I didn't want to
love
play
that
it.
game.
I was happy that I played it, but I didn't want to. I was like,
Clickers, no.
but like as far as like as horror as I've gotten, I think I replied to the comment directly. I watched like Higurashi When They Cry, which is also a visual novel that I'm about to start. I mean, it's more of like a suspense sort of murder mystery thing that does get a little jumpy at certain points. But I don't think I could handle reading a horror manga.
Oh, I love horror.
Okay,
My favorite is The Enigma of Amigata Fault, which is a Junji Ito thing. He does a lot of he's a horror manga writer, artist. And The Enigma of Amigata Fault is about like an earthquake or something happens, and like part of the ground shifts and all these like human-shaped holes are exposed, and everyone is drawn to the hole that fits them, and everyone's like,
This is already crazy.
oh, it's so creepy. I love it so much. And then there's that it's not really manga, but I forget what it's called, but there's like this Korean like animated comic thing that's like famous, and I forget what it's called, but if you just look up like Korean horror animation comic, you should find it, and it's super creepy, and I couldn't finish it. So yeah, but I really like horror stuff. I'm a fan. So Junji, if you aren't familiar with Junji Ito, I would recommend that if that's something you're into. Obviously nobody here, but listeners at home, if you're into that, I would look him up.
I can say I've seen action movies, like
I mean,
from
action's
Japan, but I mean, like they're horror, but they're like live action is what I guess I'm trying to say.
Oh, like
So, like,
Japanese The Ring. Have you seen
Yeah,
that?
I haven't
or like
seen
The
it. I saw-
Grudge?
Have you ever
Oh,
seen
it's so
Jisatsu
creepy.
Circle? Oh, that is weird.
I think I started watching like part of The Grudge, and then I just
Oh.
tapped out. I was like, no.
I had to like take breaks. I watched it alone on Halloween.
Oh no.
I watched
No.
I watched it by myself, and I had to like take breaks, and like I turned all the lights on in my apartment. I just walked around. I was like, all right, gotta check the shower. Okay, we're good. Like it was so. But oh my gosh.
Oh god.
You're made of tough stuff.
Yeah.
I've made a huge mistake. That's what that.
No.
was.
So if the zombie apocalypse happens, you're gonna be our scout.
Oh, I love zombie stuff. Can I be? I would love to lead the charge.
Yeah. So you'll be our scout. Because you're not gonna be afraid to go into that bathroom and see what's in the stalls.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be afraid, but I'll do it. You know.
And then you'll have backup. Because once the thing is for me is like it's the suspense part that's the worst, like in games, right? But once it starts happening, I'm like, all right, I gotta do this. Let's go.
Yeah. Just a quick tangent. When I went to E3 in 2013, and that's when Outlast was on display.
Right.
I apparently was really entertaining to watch because I was just screaming at the at the booth, like just being like, "Oh my god!" So, yeah, I think I react kind of. I like it because of that reaction. It's fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But Junji Ito is definitely not like screamy scary. It's more like it messes with your mind. Like it's really creepy. And so that's cool too.
Miranda's like, no.
I actually kind of like psychological thrillers, but I don't know why, because I always get nightmares. Like every time, I'm like, why am I watching this, or why am I reading this?
I'm just gonna go join the baby club. But Elena,
We'll keep each other company.
I want to ask you. You were scared of this week's Cowboy Bebop. Let's transition into the anime watch party.
Yes.
On that note.
Good segue.
Yeah, I want to talk about it because it's interesting, but I also like that it scared you. So this week for the anime watch party, we watched episode 11, Toys in the Attic, and episode 12, Jupiter Jazz Part 1. And our first listener comment for episode 11 was Nino Del Toro says, who else feels like watching the first two Alien movies after Cowboy Bebop episode 11? I'm down if you are. I'm not down, but I'm down.
I love aliens.
I almost cried
Callie's
during
a girl.
during Aliens. Almost cried, so I had to watch it for a film class. I was like, no.
Okay,
I hate everything.
I need to establish my wussiness. Granted, I was like tiny, but the first time I was ever shown E.T., I freaked out and I just was like this the whole time. I had my hands over my eyes the whole time. I couldn't handle it. And that's how I knew. I don't do suspense. I do nothing that looks weird, nothing I'm not familiar with. Yeah.
If it makes you feel any better, I'm so emotional that I could not finish E.T. because I was sad about E.T.
See, that's the appropriate response, not the holy crap, what's happening?
I'm just like overly emotional. I was like, this is the saddest thing I've ever seen. I like got mad at my dad for making me watch it. It was a whole thing.
Well,
that's why I love shoujo, though. I'm like, shoujo's all feelings.
So I just want to establish as my baseline to explain how come I had the reaction I did to episode 11.
Okay. So tell us. So episode 11, I thought was it's just so fun. Like, just like one of the weird, like, one-off, like, let's have a tour of the bebop when it's at its creepiest kind of thing.
Well, as an episode, I didn't think it was particularly strong in terms like the story's left really unfinished, like nothing's really fully explained.
It's kind of like fun.
But it has amazing camera work. Amazing camera work. A great like audio to go with the scenes. It's just really masterful in terms of like how it's produced. Animation's great. And so because of that, when the first scene opens and you just have that kind of reddish like viewpoint of this unknown creature, really, and it's like going through the tunnels or like the ducts of the ship, and you have this kind of music, and I was like, so scared. I actually had to stop it like 3 times in that intro because I really don't like suspense. I'm telling you, I am the biggest freaking wuss on the planet. It's so embarrassing. I don't know why I'm confessing this to everybody either.
You're amongst friends. It's okay.
Yeah.
Don't be embarrassed. It's
I just
fine.
hate that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. It's just such a cautionary tale. Elena, don't let it happen to you. Did you finish the episode?
Oh yeah, I did. Because I mean, those scenes didn't last forever. But that's what I mean. That I felt like in some ways this was kind of disjointed because it's never really explained what that thing is.
I think they kind of did. I mean, it was his leftover food. It was Spike's leftover food. He left it in the fridge. It was a lobster thing.
Yeah.
And it morphed into something weird, and the entire fridge was contaminated, and it was so bad that Spike had to shoot it back out in space.
But the thing is, like, nothing
Yeah.
gets explained, though. Like, what's kind of poisoning it? It's like, how do they recover? And Pikachu, Salaryman Pikachu.
Salaryman Pikachu stayed up all night, and he's
He's had a little too much electricity, guys.
I think it was more of them being over dramatic. Like maybe it was just like bad food, like kind of knocked him out kind of thing. Like it's just like contact with it was like, oh no.
No, I know, but again,
it was just like,
it's not
whatever.
explained, and it doesn't have to be explained because, like I said, the production kind of balances it out. But
Sure.
I think about it, I'm like,
I mean, Ed ate it in the end, so
Yeah.
that was weird.
She's like, my pudding, or at least in the English version, she's like, my pudding. She just eats it. Like, oh, I'm not hungry now. It's like, okay.
So weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get lit up for this, but I didn't like this episode.
Really?
And I'm an Aliens fan. I was bored.
Fun.
I knew it was a filler episode, and I grew impatient with that because I was like, even other episodes where maybe the story wasn't exactly going anywhere, but you learned something about the characters, and I knew what this was, and I was like, oh, it's supposed to be fun, and went off, and I was like, I don't want this. I don't care. Let's get going here.
Learn that Spike is irresponsible with his food, and that if you want to eat on the Bebop, you have to hide your food.
Yeah,
Don't
great, fantastic. I was so bored. I was like, let's just keep going.
It's fine.
I did think there was a good moment in it. And to me, honestly, there was one nice character thing where I thought this episode actually, for me, cemented that Spike is a badass. Not because the thing is that we've seen him before. Like, he can shoot people. Like, he can, like, he's got really great mastery over martial arts, and, he does all this stuff. But it's kind of like with you where if you go down a place that you're scared of and you're like, okay, I'm going to confront this, like, to me, that is the epitome of bravery, right? So, like, with Spike doing that, where he's like, okay, I got to go find this thing. I'm armed. I'm going to take you out. Like, to me, that was actually kind of a nice, little point about his character.
Right.
I did. On that note, I did like when he was like getting all the weapons ready, and he had like a skewer at the end. Like there was like a full circle thing. That was the one thing that made me laugh in the episode.
It was fun whenever he lit his cigarette with the flamethrower.
Well, it was running gag the whole thing. Like he was overdoing it for everything, right? Like he like torched the skewers and he torched his cigarette. And, like everything was like overdone.
Yeah, like, just don't use fire. It's not allowed.
Calm down.
Yeah. So, and I think I kind of notice whenever we have a very hard hitting episode after, we usually get that lighter kind of fun thing beforehand. which is what this episode was. Like
Yeah.
Toys in the Attic was definitely like this bottle kind of fun episode, because episode 12 was Jupiter Jazz Part 1.
So
I'm sorry that we
good.
had to cut this in half, but I guess it's kind of fun that there's some suspense, like a little
Good suspense.
cliffhanger.
Yeah,
Not
at the
bad
end.
suspense.
yeah, good kind.
Scary
So-
suspense.
Yeah, scary. No, that's a bad one. So Justin Wiley says, at JWiley15, love that we see more of Spike's backstory in episode 12. That cliffhanger. Agreed. And then Peter Swanson said, the first time I watched this series, I enjoyed it then. Jupiter Jazz happened and everything changed. Which is true. I mean, it's like you're getting obviously deeper into Spike's overall arching plot. Which is, like we said, just this like kind of slowly bled in, and this is kind of a bigger stand on that, which makes sense because we're getting close to like halfway. So yeah. So what do you guys think about Jupiter Jazz? It kind of starts off with like Faye running away.
Yeah.
She's like, "Good, don't try to find me. You know, it's fine." And then Spike's like, "Oh, thank God." It's like, Faye's just like silly, like there are ways I like odds ends, and then they're like, "We have to find her because she took all the money." It's like, of course she did. So I think it's interesting that she ends up on a place where there's like no women.
Yeah.
It's like that's also very terrifying. But
Yep.
yeah,
Well, it reflects also like her status, or before Ed got there, but even still, because she's fully grown, right? She's an adult woman, or an adult rather. I can do words. But she's basically the only real like adult female on the Bebop as well. So it's kind of the same situation in a way for her, where she goes to a planet where again she's the only woman there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I liked,
it, yeah.
yeah, I liked the conversation she had with Grant. I thought that was really good because it told you more about her real motivations. He figures out that it's like, I think you really ran away because you're starting to get attached to these people and you don't want to do that. So you ran away and left this note. It was like, I don't even want to give you a last goodbye. I'm just going to run away and you're all poopy heads. And then she just like takes off and you get the feeling like she's running away from something deeper rather than I'm just going to take all them. I mean, she could have done that at any time, but I think
right.
it's obvious that she's getting really attached to this crew. And so she kind of runs away and gets spooked by it. So I thought that was a really powerful conversation.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we have more run-ins with Vicious.
Yeah.
That was interesting to see
So-
that kind of open up.
I think, yeah, we kind of learned more about Vicious, about what he's doing, and then we also kind of clue in that, you know, Vicious and Spike worked together at one point. Like, we know this from, like, a bunch of contacts and stuff. And so it's interesting to know that they worked for this, I don't really know if it's, like, crime syndicate or, like, what they are. Like, it's not
Like
really
drug
revealed.
dealers
They
or
seem like some kind of
something.
form of
Yeah.
mafia,
Yeah,
Yeah.
some
gang.
sort of Red Dragon
Something.
kind
Yeah.
of thing. And I guess, like, Spike had time there, got out.
Yeah.
And you kind of see them coming back, of course, for Spike. And then at the end, oh no, Spike gets shot.
Yeah, I'm just like,
Oh,
no, not again.
Yeah, so that's bad, and Faye's in a weird situation. So with
Yeah.
someone who knows, I mean, Grant knows Vicious, so it's like
Yeah.
bad places.
I did like in this episode, even with how like much heavier it is, because you have suddenly this, you know, they open up this backstory or like this overarching story, right? The whole Spike's background, what he left or in some ways maybe ran away from, was how annoyed he was when he got mistaken for Vicious. I loved that because it's even the expression on his face where it's not even like anger, it's like, really? No.
Yeah, and it's interesting that we learn more about Julia, the woman that we saw in the 5th episode. Yeah, which was really interesting. You're like, okay, this is really someone important to Spike. And even his conversation with Jet, you know, over the fact that they've only known each other for 3 years. And so they're acknowledging they both have this backstory they don't totally understand. So it's just interesting that it feels like the crew is breaking up because when Spike goes to run after Julia, you know, Jet's like, you can't come back on the Bebop. There's no room for you. And it gets super dramatic. Like, everyone's, like, running away. And
Yeah, and Jet's just like, oh, it's fine. Like, I get more food anyway. And just, like, obviously this fairy has been, like, no, it's fine. Like, obviously he's hurt that he's leaving for, like, Julia. Or, like, if she's there or whatever's going on.
yeah.
So,
It's a nice mirror, though, of Faye's reaction, right?
Yeah.
Because they are all too proud or, you know, too confused or just don't want to admit, like, what their true feelings are.
Yeah.
So that they respond this way where it's like, I don't need you.
Yeah. Well, I don't need
I'm
you.
fine anyway.
Yeah.
yeah. So, that kind of concludes our thoughts, I guess, on episode 12. Next week we'll be watching 13 and 14.
Yep.
So tune in for that. If you guys want to participate in the conversation, always head over to our Facebook groups. That's facebook.com/group/IGN Anime Club. Hashtag IGNMA, so IME after IGN. Talk to us, let us know what you guys are watching, talking about, of course, Cowboy Bebop. We want to know what you guys' thoughts are, like what happens in the next episodes. Always excited to hear what you guys say. And of course, if we have like some cool comments, we might read them on the show. So join us. And of course, join the club because we can talk to you guys there and it's a lot of fun.
Yep.
So yeah, but if you guys want to get in contact with us personally, you can follow me at Twitter at Havoc Gross. I forgot there for a second. It's Havoc with a K.
Megan, MEGHAN_IGN.
I am at Morphing Ball.
I'm Inky Dojiko. INKYDOJIKKO. There we go.
Yeah, and so that concludes episode 8. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Yay!
Yay!
Bye, guys.
Bye.